Next on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
It analyzes 58 million head of cattle and 590,000 different transactions.
Next on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, details on the official livestock and meat marketing summary, plus preparing a bull for soundness exam in advance of this year's breeding season. Also, a behind-the-scenes look at how the healthy beef cookbook landed on store shelves.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with your host, Susie Ross.
Hello and welcome to NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Susie Ross. In cattle industry news this week, the USDA is considering comments on the proposed minimal risk rule for BSE. The rule would expand the range of live cattle and beef imports allowed from Canada. Cattle up to 8 years of age would be included, as well as beef from animals of any age. The current limit is 30 months of age. NCBA does not oppose the proposed rule, but did express several concerns. Members want permanent identification of Canadian cattle through harvest and a plan to deal with any trade problems that may come about if any imported cattle test positive for BSE. Congress is hearing from livestock producers about the harsh impact of rising feed costs on their businesses. Testifying on behalf of cattlemen, NCBA member Ernie Morales told the House Agriculture Subcommittee that all sectors of the cattle business are feeling the pain of high grain prices.
I'm from South Texas. I'm a third-generation rancher, feedlot owner. I run stocker cattle. I think it's important that the legislators hear from the grassroots cow-calf producer, the grassroots feed yard operators that get up every morning and raise livestock to put on our table, and I think it's important that they hear directly from us and not from lobbyists, and I think they take our concerns to heart, and they know that we're their constituents.
Morales called on Congress not to renew the current slate of ethanol subsidies. These measures contribute to higher grain prices and place livestock production at a disadvantage. And the first day of spring means National Ag Week is here. Ag Secretary Mike Johans launched events this week to honor agriculture's many contributions to the nation's economy and to the well-being of all Americans. A multi-year, multi-million-dollar study of livestock markets reveals expansive national findings. Cattleman to Cattleman had a chance to meet with the head of the USDA's Grain Inspection, Packers, and Stockyards Administration. Reporter Todd McCartney has more on the official livestock and meat marketing study in this week's Cattleman's Capital Concerns.
Cattleman's Capital Concerns, brought to you by Fort Dodge Animal Health, makers of Cydectin Poron and Triangle Vaccines.
The current administrator of USDA's Grain Inspection, Packers, and Stockyards Administration, or GIPSA, Jim Link grew up a working cowboy in the Flint Hills of Kansas. Before now, he spent most of his life in the cattle business.
For the last year or so, I've been, a little over a year now, I've been out of the cattle business for the first time in probably 45 years, something like that.
After a lifetime in the cattle industry, he says the recently completed national study on the livestock marketing complex is unprecedented in scope.
The beef portion of this thing really takes a look at 29 of the largest packing plants that are used across the United States. It analyzes 58 million head of cattle and 590,000 different transactions that occurred during that time period.
Concerns from cattlemen about packer concentration led Congress to authorize $4.5 million for the independent study. Link says the analysis confirms that producers need the freedom to market cattle in the way they see fit.
To me, this study has shown that our marketing system is working well. A tremendous amount of the producers utilize kind of I'd call it kind of a cafeteria type of marketing, or it's like having a diverse portfolio in your savings.
That's what helps drive the market, says Link. The study found 62% of fed cattle were cash or spot market traded. 38% were marketed through alternative marketing agreements. Only 5% were owned directly by packers.
Well, I know it did a pretty good job of verifying what a lot of the industry already knew. The final report was 1,200 pages long, as you can read. It's very extensive.
Well, if you want to take him up on the offer and check out the study, the full version is online at gipsa.usda.gov. Todd McCartney, Cattleman to Cattleman.
In this week's Market Watch, we have more discussion on alternative marketing arrangements.
Market Watch, brought to you by Pfizer Animal Health.
We're joined by Andy Gottschalk. Andy is with R.J. O'Brien and Associates. Nice to have you with us today, Andy.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
You know, there's a lot of talk in the industry about forward contracting and other methods that producers can use to market their cattle. What are some of the benefits of those arrangements?
Before we examine the benefits, we might contrast this to the previous system of average pricing, which had prevailed in this industry. From 1980 through 1998, the average pricing system essentially was part of a decline in beef demand, which impacted the entire beef industry. In contrast, now the marketing agreements are paying producers who produce above average product for that. The net impact of that for the entire industry is to raise the overall quality of beef, which adds value to the consumer, which has brought more consumers back to the beef plate.
Some people contend that these arrangements actually hurt the cash market, but this USDA study disputes that. What are your thoughts on that issue?
The fact that I previously on my own have researched this condition and was unable to detect any negative impact on the price structure. If we look at the turnaround in demand that occurred in the late 90s, coincident with the increased growth of marketing agreements as producers were paid for the type of quality product that they were producing, the net impact of that is to add revenue to the industry for producers, in effect raising the overall price structure.
Okay. Andy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And for more information about the USDA study and this issue, go to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, breeding season is fast approaching. Next, how to evaluate a bull's potential breeding performance. Plus,
you don't know when you're going to die, but you do know those taxes are going to be there.
How ranchers are working to change the death tax, and a look inside the highly successful Healthy Beef Cookbook. But first, here's a look at this week's market summary provided by Cattle Facts.
There ain't no bugs on me. There ain't no bugs on me. There may be bugs on some of you mugs, but there ain't no bugs on me.
Canine Advantix is the one that repels and kills disease-spreading fleas, ticks, and mosquitoes. Frontline Plus doesn't repel and isn't effective against mosquitoes. So ask your veterinarian for Canine Advantix, the one that repels and kills.
Yeah, there may be bugs on some of you mugs, but there ain't no bugs on me.
Purina's wind and rain minerals are research tested and field proven to provide balanced mineral nutrition essential for cattle health, growth, and reproduction. They're highly palatable so cattle consume what they need when they need it. And wind and rain mineral special formulation resists the elements so they won't blow out of the feeder and maintain their palatability even if they've been wet. Wind and rain cattle minerals from Purina Mills, building better cattle.
In 1874, an innovation changed the beef industry forever. It was called barbed wire, and it brought an end to open-range grazing and began a whole new era of cattle management. Today, there's another breakthrough innovation changing the beef industry. It's called Draxxin, and it's one more way Pfizer Animal Health is working with veterinarians and cattlemen to open up a whole new era in animal health. To learn more about Draxxin, talk to your veterinarian.
For many cattlemen, calving season is a time of great satisfaction with the daily arrival of new calves. However, it's also a season of long hours, short nights, and decision-making about when to assist a cow during delivery. A good tip for knowing when to step in with help is after the cow has been in hard labor for about 1 hour with no progress. At this point, you need to decide if you're going to call the vet or if you're comfortable pulling the calf yourself. Here are some pointers when pulling calves. Number 1, be ready. A clean calving assistance area is essential, as well as the proper tools nearby. Calving chains, lube, water, and sleeves, along with the puller or jack. Number 2, knowledge. Experience really pays. So does knowing when to call for help. Visit cattlemantocattleman.org for more on this week's Management Minute.
Welcome back to Cattleman to Cattleman. For cow-calf producers, reproductive efficiency is a critical factor affecting an operation's bottom line. With breeding season right around the corner, bull health and soundness is an important topic. We have more from the Cattle Learning Center.
We've worked with our veterinarian for now about 25 years that he's been here. He works on a lot of big ranches. He sees what's happening. And so we sit down every year and go over our vaccination program. He tests our bulls for fertility and breeding soundness and all. So he can advise us right quick any changes that we need to make, because a live calf on the ground is the most important thing in a ranch operation.
Breeding soundness exams should be performed 45 to 60 days prior to the breeding season for the annual breeding soundness evaluation. This allows producers time to find other bulls to go in for that breeding season. It's a real problem if you do breeding soundness exams just a few days prior to the breeding season and then have trouble finding bulls to replace those bulls that failed to pass a breeding soundness exam. For bulls that are being prepared for a sale, it's actually better to try to test these bulls as close to sale time as possible. This way we're sure that nothing has happened to those bulls from the time they were tested right up until the sale date. There are 4 key components of a breeding soundness examination of a bull: the physical exam, evaluation of scrotal circumference, the evaluation of sperm morphology, and the evaluation of sperm motility. The bulls must have sound feet and legs and have sound ocular ability to be able to mount and effectively breed a female. Part of the physical exam includes palpating the external reproductive structures, which includes the prepuce, palpating the testicles. We're mainly looking for defects such as adhesions, abscesses. The next part of the physical examination is a rectal exam, which involves evaluation of the accessory sex glands, including the seminal vesicles and other accessory sex glands.
In essence, scrotal circumference, its real estimate or its power relative to fertility is in its relationship to semen volume, and certainly as we put more sperm cells into the tract during breeding, we have a better chance of getting a successful pregnancy. And then secondly, the relationship of scrotal circumference to age at puberty in daughters. Morphology is essentially an evaluation of the cells in a semen sample relative to their structural correctness. There are 3 basic pieces of a sperm cell that are evaluated: the head, the midpiece, and the tail. When we discuss semen motility or sperm cell motility, we're really looking for cells that swim progressively forward. They literally spin through time, and we want to see those cells moving in a progressively motile manner, which lets us know that those cells have a chance then, when they get into the reproductive tract, to generate a functional pregnancy.
There are several advantages to performing breeding soundness examinations in bulls. Research has shown that performing breeding soundness evaluations results in 6% higher fertility than in herds that do not perform breeding soundness examinations. Another report showed that performance of a breeding soundness exam was a 17-to-1 return on that investment dollar. So for every dollar spent on breeding soundness exams, you can expect a return of $17 on your investment. Breeding soundness exams also can allow us to possibly use fewer bulls.
Since reproductive efficiency and performance in a cow-calf operation is the most important thing in terms of the economics of that operation, I think it's critical that you have a veterinarian work with you in the process of bull evaluation. So I think they can make some very significant impact on reproductive efficiency in your cow herd.
Thanks to Dr. Glenn Rogers, Technical Services Veterinarian with Pfizer Animal Health, and our other experts for providing these timely and important tips. For more information on breeding soundness exams, contact your veterinarian or go to cattlemantocattleman.org. There are 2 things in life that are certain: death and taxes, but ranchers are working to change the rules. Tips on estate planning when we come back.
Agriculture is a small portion of the population now, and if we're not working together, we're not going to get anywhere. as our family, we cannot be in Washington, D.C. all the time, and I just couldn't live without NCBA representing.
They're looking out for our interests. They're there fighting for us every day.
If you got 1 cow or 2 cows or 100 cows, you need to be a member.
I'm a member of the NCBA because a long time ago, 35 years ago, I felt that I needed to know more of what my industry is doing. So I got started at the county level. If you're in the cattle industry, now's the time to join and let your voice be heard loud and clear.
You need NCBA working for you, and NCBA needs you. It's easy to join. Just call, get online, or talk with your state affiliate and sign up today.
West Nile virus is still a deadly threat for virtually every horse in America. Protect your champion with West Nile Innovator, the original West Nile virus vaccine. West Nile Innovator has been proven safe and effective, with more than 20 million doses administered coast to coast. Ask your veterinarian for West Nile Innovator today from Fort Dodge Animal Health, the official vaccines of the American Quarter Horse Association.
Welcome back to NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. In the second part of this week's Cattle Learning Center, we're focusing on estate planning through the eyes of Goodson Ranch in Blackwell, Oklahoma. Goodson Ranch is not that different from many multi-generational family-run farms and ranches around the country. Here's Larry Cannon, owner of the operation.
Because every year we pay taxes on our equipment, and we pay taxes on, land for the schools. We pay taxes on income tax, to send to Washington, or state income tax. We pay plenty of taxes every year without having to watch out for this death tax.
Goodson Ranch has the unique distinction of being a centennial ranch, having been in operation for more than 100 years. Cannon's grandmother started this ranch during the land run.
When she passed away, my grandmother had to pay estate tax on this property. And it wasn't that much longer whenever my grandmother passed away, and then my dad had to pay an estate tax of very close to 50%. And it was just a huge check that just about folded the ranch.
You don't know when you're going to die, but you do know those taxes are going to be there.
Whatever his business is, he has to pay half when his dad dies. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make a bit of sense, at least not for farmers. In other words, if it's appraised at $1,000 an acre now, and my parents die, I'd have to pay, $500 an acre to keep it, whenever it's only bringing in a revenue enough for maybe $300 an acre. So what do? It means you're done.
According to the current law, the death tax will die in 2010, but in 2011, tax rates will return to 55% if Congress doesn't act. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association, with membership funding, is working hard to reduce this burden, a financial pressure that risks putting American farming families out of business.
Today we have $2 million per person exemption, which is up from the past, but we think that's not enough to really protect all the farmers and ranchers, so that we're trying to increase the amount of the exemption and lower the rates.
The spring 2007 Cow-Calf issue of Beef magazine deals entirely with estate planning and offers these tips. Inventory your assets and liabilities. That means talking to your appraiser and getting a good handle on what your property is really worth. Work with your family to set your goals. Here you need to ask yourself if your aim is to transfer ranch operations to the next generation, pay for retirement, or minimize taxes and legal fees, for example. Organize your team, including your banker, insurance agent, financial planner, and extension agent. Plan for risk. What happens if someone dies prematurely? And finally, revisit the plan periodically and account for life changes. Births, marriages, divorces may require you change your plans. There is an enormous amount of research available on the issue of estate planning. For further information, head to cattlemantocattleman.org. It features great recipes and some of your favorite cuts of beef. Ahead, a look inside the development of the Healthy Beef Cookbook. We'll be right back.
From fresh tomatoes to potatoes and chicken to beef. We're as picky about our quality ingredients as you are. Because that's what we're made of.
At the Beef and Veal Culinary Center, the Beef Checkoff's personal chefs, nutritionists, and food experts develop and test new ways to serve the beef you produce to make sure consumers have a positive beef eating experience every time.
The goal is the consumer servicing their needs while informing them of what a great product we have.
The Checkoff-funded Beef and Veal Culinary Center, they don't make beef, they make beef better. This report brought to you by your Beef Checkoff.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fogelman from Kansas State University, and you're watching NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, a television show by cattlemen for cattlemen.
You find them in magazines, at the grocery store, and online, those tantalizing new beef recipes. But where do they come from? Chances are that recipe you can't wait to try was tested in a unique kitchen in downtown Chicago. You might see a flat iron steak on the grill, a roast being sliced, or a group of chefs tasting a recipe, but this is far from an ordinary kitchen. NCBA's Beef and Veal Culinary Center in Chicago is where a team of skilled chefs, nutritionists, and food experts work to help create consumers' craving for beef.
At the Checkoff-funded Beef and Veal Culinary Center, we're all about developing great, delicious, and nutritious beef recipes that will increase demand and ultimately have an impact on our producers.
To help build beef demand, the team at the Beef and Veal Culinary Center develops more than 100 new recipes each year. In addition, all the recipes in the Checkoff-funded Healthy Beef Cookbook were tested here, and the center tests new products and develops cooking methods for new beef cuts.
The beef value cuts that we're hearing so much about, the flat iron, the ranch steak, petite tender, the Culinary Center developed all of the cook timings for those cuts. Which was extremely helpful for us to go out and promote them.
The goal is the consumer servicing their needs, servicing their desires, while informing them of what a great product we have. Then we're presenting them how to cook our product. It's exciting. I mean, the whole thing is expanding our markets.
The Beef Checkoff-funded Culinary Center recently developed 8 new Hispanic-themed recipes and is also working on more kid-friendly beef dishes to help build beef demand among young consumers. You can get more details on the Healthy Beef Cookbook at beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Thanks for sending us your family photos. Let's take a look at this week's highlights. Send us pictures of your family and operation. Head to our website at cattlemantocattleman.org. Next week, low-stress cattle handling tips and the week's news and market headlines. Thanks for joining us on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. Be sure to tune in next week. A new episode airs every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on RFD TV.